All right, we going?
We are live. Welcome back to The Changed Physician. I am Melissa Cady with my co-host, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro. We've been battling the new Facebook situation here, trying to get ourselves live today.
Yeah,
But this is
Facebook
our,
always making things interesting, Like
I know, So we've had to just adapt and pivot today. But
yeah,
today's Saturday. What's that?
I was gonna say completely pivot because I'm literally doing this on my phone because we couldn't do it from the computers and couldn't get everything connected. So
I
unbelievable.
know. Yeah, well, this is Saturday Salutations for those of you listening, and we like to just say hi, mention what's happened in the podcast recently, and then maybe a few tidbits of positive or frustrations, I guess, for today. But why don't I just start off? I got our spreadsheet in front of us of what's happened this past week, and being that today is the 16th of July. This past Sunday, we had the episode 207, The Science of Influence, What Everyone Needs to Know About Persuasion, which was suggested by no one other than Dr. Kevin Cuccaro, who's very well read. And we discussed some of those things. And of course, Thursday was another Thursday throwback on episode 21 with Dr. Austin Cheng, who's a
GI.
gastroenterologist. Yes, gastroenterologist and a social media expert. So, anything you want to add to either one of those, Kevin?
No, the persuasion one was pretty fun. I do think it's that one everybody should listen to because if you're not aware of persuasion and how it works, at least like the minimums, it means you're going to be you're going to be unaware, right? So you're not going to be able to be aware of when it's used on you, and it will work on you, and it even works when you're aware of them. But having some awareness of what those kind of key triggers are, at least I do think it provides a degree of ability to interrupt a pattern or voluntary commit. So when we get a little bit more into Saturday Salutations, I'm going to talk about Amazon Prime Day and some of the little tricks that they do on there. And it's like, you recognize them and you're like, but I'm still falling for it, But at least you're aware and falling into it rather than completely blind and just lumbering through the jungle like an elephant that doesn't know where it's going. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even if you're aware, you can decide, oh, am I going to fall for it, or am I going to be like annoyed with their efforts and like do the opposite just because, you don't want to fall into the trap. But, you know, it's all our choices. If as long as you're aware, I guess that's what matters. But
yeah.
um yeah, so I realized with all this, like try to update Zoom, which we try to get into Facebook so everyone can see the Facebook Live, and all of a sudden now everything is reversed on my screen, so everything's backwards, and I had to figure out how to get that back. And then this whole Facebook Live stuff, there's streaming software you can connect, and it was really easy before, and now I can't even find how to get that all fixed. So that's why
Well,
we are like 30 minutes delayed just trying to do
and they
this.
and they changed all the page layouts, right?
Yeah, the
So even
layout.
even if we could have gotten it connected, I couldn't, like, I can't find the groups anymore. I can't find my other pages anymore. Um, I just don't. I mean, you guys have heard me rant about Facebook, but it's like so irritating that they have a product that they make more complicated and less useful. Like the upgrades, I don't see any utility with them. And then I kind of, and the other thing about Facebook is they're, not to be a total conspiracy theorist, but the algorithm that they use, like, I remember in the old days of Facebook, you got to see everything, and then
Mhm.
now you don't. Like, I'll get to the point where I'm seeing the same two people post, and I'm like, I don't even know why I'm seeing the same two people post all the time. And
Mhm.
then there's posts, like there's a historian, Heather Cox Richardson, that I follow on Facebook, and she usually writes a very detailed historical analysis of kind of current events, and then puts them in a very and kind of adds the history behind them. It is really, really good, and I'm always
Mhm.
liking them all the time. And about 2 months ago, Facebook is like, I'm not sure if I want you to see this anymore, because she stopped when she posts. I can't see it, so I
Mhm.
have to actually physically search her and find her, then go to her page, and then find the post in order to read it for the day. And if their algorithm was based on my activity, my actual activity,
Mhm.
it would be, it should be one of the first ones that comes up every day, and it doesn't. So Why?
Right.
I don't know. Other than
Yeah.
maybe they don't want me to be actually informed by a historian, which that's
Heaven forbid.
heaven forbid that. But anyway, so enough of the frustrations. How was your week?
My week has been very nice because I've just been, I wouldn't say I don't think I'm ever really lazy, but I only had one operating room day. And so I've gotten to just do other random stuff and catch up on some things. Um, but I did go watch the Jurassic Park movie. Um, and so got to enjoy that with my husband. That was fun.
I don't know
Fun movie.
anything about that actually. I just know there was a new one, and I was like, okay, I'll wait for the video when it comes out somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's been my day and or week, I should say, and just trying to get prepared for the upcoming weeks and stuff. So yeah, and getting myself fully feel pretty darn close to 100% on recovering from COVID. So that's nice. And yeah, what about you?
Well, it was Prime Day this week, and I'm gonna
Oh yes.
to counter the difference between Facebook and Amazon. And he's like, "Oh, Amazon's evil," and Amazon does some things that are pretty sketch. I will agree with that. But as a consumer of Amazon, Amazon is always ridiculously focused on making me be able to use their stuff easier. There's only been one kind of snafu in the last 3 months, and that's had to do with payment, I guess, with Google Play. Because I used to be able to you could just order movies right off the TV, and that's you can't do that anymore. But I'm just like astounded. And then so Prime Day comes out, and I'm not a huge consumer, and we've talked about that stuff.
Mhm.
Like, you don't want to keep up with the Joneses and wants versus needs and all that everything. But I
Yeah.
kind of let myself go a little bit this time, and I'm like, I don't necessarily need this stuff, but I've been kind of wanting it for a while. And we just got back from a big trip, so I have travel on my mind. So we went a little bit crazier than normal, and I picked up
Uh-huh.
some stuff like this, which is a turtleneck pillow. And
Uh-huh.
I wanted this before I flew. There's people worse than me, but I've bought at least 4 different neck pillows because I always want to sleep on a plane. I can't. I mean, I have a hard enough time sleeping in a bed.
Yeah.
And I'm always like dreaming of the perfect neck pillow. And this puppy, none of I have some weird ones, but this one is this. It's like this. You can see it. It's flat, and then this is all wrapped up. But when
Uh,
you put it on, let me see if I can actually do it in one hand. Um, it just supports your head. I feel like I'm an ad for Turtle now, but I put it on. I was like, man, I'm excited to get on a plane, like a 10-hour flight now, just to try this puppy out because it fits on the side like so,
oh yeah.
and then
So
it
you don't
wraps
droop your
around.
head.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's not. I mean, it looks kind of goofy, and I don't have it tight, but it just fits enough to stop the head bobs. You know how you do that on a plane,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
and that wakes me up every time. And so I put it on, and you have a little bit tight, and you can literally just set your head on there. And oh my god, I was like, I could almost take a nap standing up now. So this was super exciting, and I got this for like almost half off. And
Yeah.
then what else did I get that I was? Oh, so I'm moving into travel backpacks.
Huh?
Like we generally will travel with carry-ons, and we'll usually have carry-on like a carry-on bag and a personal item.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I'd like to get down to where I can just travel with, like for short trips less than a week, a
Uh-huh.
backpack. But I don't like having to dig in around in a backpack. They have these clamshell type backpacks now where they're
Mm.
almost like a piece of luggage that is a backpack, and they have all these compartments. And I bought one of those before I left. And I'm also like luggage for me. I'm a stickler with it. So I had a bag, long time. It was a Samsonite bag, perfect size, easy to push in the overhead. And I had it for years until the wheels basically exploded. And so I had to buy a new bag. And my luggage was okay. It was just sort of, there's a couple little things that people like, dude, you're insane. There's no reason to be upset. But it was just bugging me. So I bought a new set of luggage. And then I'm like, okay, well, I have this luggage now, but I would really like not to have to bring luggage at all. Like just a bag that I could either stash in the overhead or I could put
Uh-huh.
into my under the seat if you needed. So I bought a backpack before I went to Europe, and then that one had these pockets that were kind of hard to access. And so I'm like, oh,
Uh-huh.
it's not the perfect bag. My kids are like, Dad, you're insane. You don't need this. But I saw another travel backpack on Amazon for Prime Day, and I bought
Yeah.
that, and I'm like super excited about that. And then I bought like a new eye shade that I
Uh-huh.
don't know if you eye shades that you can actually wrap around your head, and that one's super
Uh-huh.
comfortable. But the
Uh-huh.
most cool thing, and I hear you just going on, you're like, oh, Kevin, stop with your consumerism thing. But I have
No.
a balance board that I've wanted for years. So I think
Uh-huh.
we've done like a couple fitness things on speed, power, endurance, and training for those. And the other thing
Uh-huh.
that you need to always worry about is balance. And I have a nub board that I've had for years. One of these puppies, which has
Uh-huh.
nubs on it, and that's
Oh.
fun for spinning around. But it's not what I would call super engaging. But I've
Uh-huh.
wanted this particular one called the Rev Balance, and specifically the Swell board. Facebook
Hmm.
was advertising it, and it's a bigger board. It actually has a rocker, and you can do it either lengthwise or side to side. And it has these little magnetic strips so you can adjust the difficulty on it. And
Hmm.
if you see me moving back side to side, that's because I'm on my Rev board, and I'm going to show it to you because it is so freaking awesome. So that's the Rev.
Ah.
And you can see it's a longer rocker, and that's because you can adjust the guides.
Oh yeah.
They're magnetic, which are kind of hard to get out, but especially when you're on Facebook, apparently.
With one hand.
With one
Yeah.
hand. But
But
so they're
yeah, you can see
magnetic,
them.
and
Uh-huh.
then you can stick them on the sides, and then what happens is then you can put the board. So now you're this way, and this is super challenging.
Yeah.
This is like actually
Yeah.
if you were on a snowboard, this length when you're like this reminds me very much of a paddleboard.
Uh-huh.
So it's freaking awesome. Anyway, so
Nice.
yeah, so we spent a lot more money than we would normally ever spend
Mm-hmm.
on a Prime Day. It was like Christmas in July, so it was a fun week. It was a fun week, but
Well, there's a good marketing tactic for Amazon.
yeah,
It's like Christmas in July.
it is. It was like I was like this is, and then all the packages start coming, and
Yeah.
yeah, it
That can
was
be
fun.
addictive.
It
Yeah.
was well, and this is the other thing I can't remember we talked about in this persuasion, but
Yeah.
when you kind of look at the psychology of action, once you perform an action, you're very likely to continue an action down that path. So
Yeah.
the reason when people sell you something and then they offer what's called an upsell or a downsell, like classically the example that they'll use is McDonald's. Like, do you want fries with that? Well,
Yeah.
if you've made a purchase, you are more likely to make a subsequent purchase.
Yeah.
And so with like this Prime stuff, I know it's funny because I'm aware of it, and I'm like, I would buy something, and I'm like, oh my God, we got a little surge going. I'm like, what else can I buy?
Yeah.
And that's not typically, we're not huge consumers of stuff, but
Yeah.
so it was fascinating both on the kind of Christmassy element as well as just the buying psychology that I got to live through and really experience. Very much aware of what was happening the whole time. So
Yeah.
interesting week on that end.
Well, interesting. I didn't even think about that, but the last 20 minutes of the Amazon Prime,
Oh yeah,
I
scarcity.
I was like my husband kept using my iPad all the time. And I'm like, I'm just gonna look and see what kind of, because he's like a Samsung phone guy. I'm like, I'm just gonna see what tablets are out there, and they had some for like 30% off.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't want the cheapy one, didn't want the really expensive one. I wanted something that had reasonable uh, features or whatever, and worthwhile long term. So I did it, Kevin. The last 20 minutes, I went ahead and I bought him a tablet, a Galaxy tablet, so that he can watch all his sports, because it's so thin and convenient and just easy to slip in, put anywhere and all of that. And they had the coolest thing is they, for 50% off, the cover, the case, when you pop it on, it's magnetic. You don't have to charge the keyboard, and you don't have to like link it by Bluetooth. It automatically like has a connection. And that was pretty cool. I didn't expect that. I didn't even have enough time to like research all the differences very well. But yeah. Anyway, he's glad he has it. And now I got my iPad back.
Yeah,
So
so I screwed that. That's actually urgency. That's the whole thing about deadlines and
yeah.
sales,
Uh-huh.
and that sense of it's pending. Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
it's a fascinating. It was a fascinating moment in time just to really sort of experience buying psychology, and
Yeah.
uh, and I got some cool stuff. That being also said, it also reminded me about purchases like hedonic adaptation, which is kind of the big thing about when you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, or if you're thinking you're going to get happiness through spending, and it never works because you buy something, you get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get this, you get this stuff, and you get this little joy, but for things that you can't immediately use, the joy obviously is less. So I have these cool backpacks and turtle pillows and eye shades and all. But the next time I go on a transatlantic or a trans-Pacific flight is going to be probably next year, because we're not planning any
Yeah.
for the next trip. We're all doing short trips. But
Mm-hmm.
but not stupid. My board, right? The stuff that I can use now
Right.
gives me joy all the time. So I think it makes a lot of sense, if you're going to pay for things, focus on things that you're going to be using often, and then just be
Mm-hmm.
aware that once you've bought them, just be very appreciative, and then as you see them, be appreciative, and so granted, it's only been not very long with this thing, but it's fun, and I really enjoy it, and I'm getting a lot of joy out of that puppy thing. So
Hey, well that's what's important. I think you should end on that.
well, okay, I will. So that'll be a little advice from us here at the Change Position. If you were going to buy something, don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Always be able to define your wants versus needs. But if you are getting something that you just truly want, make sure it's something that you're going to utilize or see on pretty consistent basis, at least probably once a day, maybe, or more, so that you can appreciate it and suck all the joy juice out of it. So
That's right. And
yeah,
if you don't know what the Change Physician is all about, go to thechangephysician.com and join us at the community there, whether you're a physician or a physician ally, and we'd love to see you there. And until next Saturday, Salutations, or the podcast that you hear on all our venues, so we will see you next time.
stay well, folks.